Have you ever imagined what your life would be like if fear simply vanished? Picture this. You're standing at a turning point, a new job offer, a chance to speak your truth, a dream you've buried for years. Your heart knows it's time, but fear? It steps in, like an old friend with bad advice. What if you fail? What if it all goes wrong? So, you freeze. Again. Now, what if I told you that over 2,500 years ago, long before therapy apps or motivational podcasts, the Buddha had already laid out a powerful path to free us from this exact prison of fear? A path not rooted in blind faith or forced positivity, but in deep understanding, clarity, and inner peace. In today's video, we're diving into 6 timeless Buddhist teachings that reveal the truth about fear, what it really is, why it controls us, and more importantly, how you can break free. These lessons won't just change the way you see fear, they'll transform the way you live. So what are these hidden truths the Buddha left behind for us? Can ancient wisdom really help modern minds navigate anxiety, doubt, and fear? Let's explore together and begin the journey from fear to freedom. 1. Embrace impermanence, learning to dance with change. Think about the last time something slipped through your fingers. A relationship, a job, a moment you wished could last forever. That quiet ache we feel in those moments, that's fear whispering, I can't handle losing this. But the Buddha taught something radically freeing. Everything is impermanent. Our thoughts, our emotions, our successes and failures, and yes, even our fears, are all in a constant state of change. Yet we suffer because we resist this truth. We want things to stay the same, to stay secure, to stay ours. But clinging to what's destined to change is like trying to hold the wind. Fear often comes from this clinging, the belief that we must control the uncontrollable. We fear losing our health, our loved ones, our sense of identity. But once you truly grasp the nature of impermanence, something shifts. You realize nothing lasts, and that's okay. When you accept that everything, even your anxiety, is temporary, the tight grip around your chest begins to loosen. You stop trying to freeze time or force outcomes. Instead, you begin to move with life, not against it. This doesn't mean you become detached or numb. It means you show up more fully, knowing that each moment is precious precisely because it won't last. You cherish joy when it's here. You allow sadness to pass through without letting it define you. And fear? It becomes just another wave. Not something to drown in, but something you learn to surf. So how do you live this truth? Start by noticing the little things, the way seasons shift, how a child's face changes, how no emotion ever stays the same. Reflect daily on this flow. When challenges arise, remind yourself, this too shall pass. Because when you embrace impermanence, you stop fearing change and start trusting life. 2. See the illusion of fear unmasking the mind's greatest trick. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine standing at the edge of a cliff. The wind brushes your face, your heart starts racing, your breath shortens, yet you haven't taken a single step forward. You're not in danger. Nothing is happening. So why are you afraid? The Buddha taught that much of our suffering comes not from reality itself, but from the stories our mind invents. And fear? It's often the most convincing story of all. Fear thrives in imagination. It feeds on what ifs, on imagined catastrophes, on future moments that haven't and may never come to pass. But here's the truth. Fear is not a fact. It's a thought, a projection, a pattern in the mind that loops and echoes until we start to believe it's real. But when you stop and observe it, truly look at it with clear awareness, you begin to see through the illusion. That racing heart, a natural response. That tightness in your chest, just energy moving. You're not broken. You're not weak. You're simply human. And fear isn't your enemy. It's your teacher. It shows up when you're stepping outside your comfort zone, on the edge of growth, on the brink of transformation. It's not there to stop you. It's there to challenge you. Are you ready to move beyond who you were yesterday? When you see fear for what it really is, a passing shadow, a mental habit, a temporary visitor, it loses its power over you. You realize, I am not the fear. I am the awareness watching it. So the next time fear knocks on your door, pause. Don't run. Don't fight. Just look at it. Gently, honestly, say to yourself, this is just a thought. It is not the truth. And like all thoughts, it will pass. Because once you see fear clearly, it no longer hides in the dark. And when it can't hide, it can't control you. 3. Practice mindfulness, turning toward the present moment. Have you ever noticed how fear almost never lives in the present? It lingers in the past, echoing memories of failure or pain. Or it projects into the future, painting vivid pictures of what could go wrong. Rarely, if ever, does fear speak to what's actually happening right now. That's why the Buddha taught the transformative power of sati, mindfulness. When you bring your full attention to the present moment, fear begins to loosen its grip. Mindfulness is not about forcing your mind to be calm. It's about noticing, with gentle awareness, what's arising within you. A flutter in the stomach, a worried thought, a tightening in the chest. You don't need to fix it or push it away. You simply see it. And in that seeing, something profound happens. You remember that you are not your fear. You are the one witnessing it. Imagine sitting quietly, noticing your breath. A fearful thought comes. What if I mess up? You gently recognize it. Ah, here's fear again. No judgment, no panic, just presence. You return to your breath, to the sensations of the body, to this moment. And the thought, like a cloud, begins to drift away. The practice of mindfulness creates space between you and the story your mind is spinning. In that space, you regain your freedom. You no longer react from fear. You respond with clarity. Even physically, fear shows up in the body. Clenched fists, a racing heart, shallow breath. Mindfulness invites you to feel these sensations without resistance. Just feel, just breathe, just be. The more you practice this, the more you retrain your nervous system to meet fear, not with flight, but with stillness. As the Buddha said, the mind is everything. What you think, you become. And when you practice mindfulness, you begin to think and live with compassion, steadiness, and wisdom. Because when you come home to the present moment, you realize, right here, right now, there is no fear. 4. Understand the nature of suffering. Seeing fear through the lens of dukkha. At some point in life, we all ask the same silent question. Why am I so afraid? Why does this hurt so much? The Buddha offered a clear and compassionate answer, because suffering is part of being human. He called it dukkha, a truth that touches everyone, no matter their background, success, or beliefs. Fear, anxiety, worry, these aren't flaws in your personality. They're forms of suffering that arise naturally when we face loss, uncertainty, or change. And here's what's most liberating. You are not alone in this. When we believe our fear is unique, we isolate ourselves. We think, everyone else is doing fine. What's wrong with me? But when we understand that fear is a universal part of the human experience, something shifts. The burden gets lighter. The shame begins to dissolve. Everyone fears something: failure, rejection, abandonment, death. Even the most courageous people feel fear. The difference is, they don't fight it alone. They understand it. They make peace with it. And this is what Buddhist wisdom invites us to do. To see fear not as a personal failing, but as a doorway, a signal that suffering is present, and with awareness, suffering can be transformed. Because suffering, when seen clearly, becomes our teacher. It humbles us. It softens our hearts. It connects us with others in ways comfort never could. So when fear visits you, try not to resist it or push it away. Instead, take a breath and say to yourself, this is part of life. Others feel this too. I am not broken. I am human, and in that moment of honest recognition, fear loses some of its sting because you've stopped carrying it alone. 5. Let go of attachment, releasing the chains of clinging. Take a quiet moment and ask yourself, what am I most afraid to lose? The answer to that question often points to where you are most deeply attached. A relationship, a job, your health, your image, even your sense of control. And while love, success, and identity aren't bad in themselves, it's our tight grip on them, our clinging, that gives rise to fear. In Buddhism, this is called tanva, the thirst, the craving, the grasping at life. It's the part of us that says, I need this to be okay. Without it, I'll fall apart. But the Buddha saw clearly, whatever we cling to, we eventually suffer for, because nothing in this world lasts. When we believe our happiness or safety depends on something outside ourselves, we live in a constant state of tension. Fear seeps in the moment we sense that we might lose it. That kind of fear, the fear of loss, is often more painful than the loss itself. But here's the liberating truth. Letting go is not about giving up. It's not detachment in the cold, emotionless sense. It's about loving, working, living without clinging. It's about loosening the grip and trusting that you'll be okay, even if things change. Non-attachment means doing your best, caring deeply, and yet accepting whatever outcome life brings. It's holding things lightly, not because they don't matter, but because you no longer need them to define your worth. When fear arises, fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of the unknown, ask yourself, what am I clinging to? Then take a breath and imagine opening your hand, letting go, not in defeat, but in trust, because every time you let go of attachment, you reclaim your power. You stop depending on fragile things to feel whole. And in that space, fear no longer has a place to grow. 6. Cultivate patience, the gentle power that calms fear. In a world that moves fast, fear often feels like an emergency. We want answers now. We crave certainty now. We need things to be fixed, solved, or resolved now. And when life doesn't move at our speed, fear fills the silence. What if it never works out? What if I'm not good enough? What if I run out of time? But the Buddha taught that one of the most powerful antidotes to fear isn't force or control. It's patience. Khanti, the quiet strength of waiting with presence, of staying grounded when things are uncertain, and of trusting the rhythm of life, even when it doesn't match your expectation. Fear is impatient. It tells you that discomfort is dangerous, that not knowing is unbearable. But patience teaches you to pause, to breathe, to witness the unfolding of life without trying to rush or escape it. Think about a seed. You don't scream at it to grow faster. You water it, you give it light, you wait with faith. Why not treat yourself the same way? When fear shows up, instead of running or reacting, try staying. Just stay. Let the discomfort rise and fall. Let the silence speak. Let the future unfold, one breath at a time. Patience doesn't mean doing nothing. It means doing the right thing at the right time, with a calm and steady heart. It means being kind to yourself when you're struggling, and allowing space for wisdom to grow. And perhaps most importantly, it means realizing that you don't have to have it all figured out today. You're allowed to grow slowly. You're allowed to not know. You're allowed to be in progress, because when you practice patience, fear loses its urgency, and in that stillness, something else emerges. Clarity, resilience, and a quiet kind of peace that no storm can shake. Fear will always try to speak, with its trembling voice, its imagined disasters, its sense of urgency. But now you've heard a deeper voice, one that whispers from within. You are not your fear. You are the awareness behind it. The Buddha didn't promise a life without fear. What he offered was far more powerful, a path through it, a way to understand, embrace, and eventually transcend fear through wisdom, mindfulness, compassion, and courage. These 6 teachings aren't just ancient philosophy, they are living tools. Tools you can reach for the next time fear tries to hold you back. Tools that remind you everything is impermanent. Fear is often an illusion. The present moment is safe. Suffering is shared. Attachment can be released, and patience is your inner sanctuary. So the next time your heart races and your mind spins, remember, you are not broken. You are awakening. If this message spoke to something deep within you, if it helped you see fear in a new light, I invite you to share this with someone who may need it. And if you want more mindful teachings like this, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to Light of Buddhism, because together, as we walk this path, step by mindful step, we begin to see that fear is not the end of the story. It's just the beginning of waking up.